talk to you guys about the garden web application that I made for the city.
What?
For all of you, in the sense that live here and everybody
There's no
that visit
sound.
the gardens from all over the place every day. So a little bit of my background, I have my bachelor's from the University of Central Oklahoma. I grew up in Oklahoma City, and my degree was in basically parks and recreation. So that led me to a career in the National Park Service. I did my internship at the Oklahoma City National Memorial. Has anybody been to that one? Yeah. It's a very special place, and it really taught me how to interact with people. It was really good to me. It was a very good first job. And then my second job was at Guadalupe Mountains National Park as a park ranger. I did front desk, ranger programs, hiking, firefighting, ambulance driving, website, literally everything. Very small park. You get to touch everything, and it was a great time. And then I got to do 6 months with Grand Canyon National Park as a transportation and recreation planner. This is where I fell in love with my job that I do today. I was working on a transportation project, planning electric vehicle chargers, and I was like, I need to know how to map these things. I don't know why they won't teach me how to do that, and it's driving me insane. So I quit, and I went to Oklahoma State University to get my certificate in geographic information systems. And then I came to work here about a year and a half ago. And you guys may be wondering, what is GIS? It's kind of a secret field that lives behind everything, but nobody really knows what it does. So it is a very, very fun field to be in. Geographic information systems are a computer system that analyzes and displays geographically referenced information. It uses data that is attached to a unique location. We actually had intern interviews. We have interns every summer at the city with Public Works, and one of our interview questions is elevator pitch. How do you explain GIS to somebody? And we had one person, we will never forget this, me and Addie talk about them all the time. But they were like, it's kind of the baby between geography and data analytics. It integrates location data with descriptive information and kind of creates patterns between those two things. So it's involved in spatial analysis, mapping and visualization, data management, and communication. And then I kind of created this little graphic so that you guys could see what all it is involved in. Like I said, it lives behind every single thing that you guys do every day, from your maps on your phone to even going to the store to purchase cereal. Like, it's everything has GIS behind it. So what I do specifically is I work for Public Works, and we help utilities and engineering with their everyday projects and just making their lives a lot easier. So we enter new data. Anytime there's new lines that come in, we have to go out and GPS them and make sure they're in the computer system. And we are always updating data to make it more accurate. We create maps all the time. We do stuff for the monthly meetings of the city just to update everybody on projects and things like that. And we also create web applications to make our data more accessible to all of our citizens, as well as the people that use it every day to help your lives go easier.
Yeah.
Everybody behind the scenes. So now we get to talk about the Botanical Garden app. You guys might be thinking, why an app? There's tons of different things that you could do when trying to figure out what's the best way to help people visit the Botanical Gardens. So there's several different things that you could do. You could put signs up to help people. You could always make sure that there's a volunteer out there to help answer questions when people are visiting the Botanical Gardens. But there's not always somebody there to answer those questions. Signs are really difficult to keep up with. I know that when I was in the Park Service anytime you put up a sign, the plant dies. It's just how it goes. It's really frustrating when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not playing anything, order a new sign, it's the whole thing. And then brochures are limited. There again, you update a brochure, you print a whole bunch of them, something dies, and then your brochure is out of date, or you plant something new, and it's just a mess, and they're expensive. And then things are always changing in the gardens. There's new and better things. There's all of y'all are always going out there and planting things and keeping it beautiful. So we want to make sure that everything is always up to date for visitors whenever they're coming to visit. And why me? So like I said, I work in public works. I don't really have anything to do with Parks and Recreation in the city. But when Parks and Rec came to GIS to build this app, they were like, who needs to do this? Amanda. Just because I do have experience with places with nature trails, and since I used to work at a front desk in a national park, I know what kind of questions people ask. They want to know where the plant is native to, when does it bloom, all of those kind of things. And I am the kind of go-to app builder with the city. And also, I am the target demographic. I am that person with 6,000 flower photos on my phone. Whenever I'm hiking somewhere, I'll take pictures and then I'll go home and research the plant. So I built this app for me, basically. I did a lot of background research for this app. There are a handful of similar applications out there that do a similar thing. So I kind of took all of these apps and picked different pieces of what I liked best from each of them and then put them in here. I did a lot of history research. I went to the library and found the Grapevine Garden Club history. So whoever put that together, thank you if you're in this room. And then I did a lot of plant research, used tons of different websites from, oh my gosh, well, doesn't matter. But so yeah, tons of work went into all of the information that's in there. So a big part of it was building all of the information that goes into the app. So I can build a beautiful map with all different things on it, but if there's no data in there, what are we using it for? So there are several volunteers that helped to collect all of the data that I'm getting ready to show you here in a minute, but all of those bright green dots are things that were hand collected, walked around the gardens, and put all of the information in there. And tons of hours went into that, but they go in and fill out everything related to the plant, and then I came in and configured a map so that people are going to be able to interact with the information. But the table you can kind of see on the bottom is where all of the plant data comes in, and then it kind of populates the location on the map. And then I built the background to go with it. So this is a little screenshot of where I built the app. It's very tiny, I'm so sorry. But it just kind of shows that every little button does have to be configured. And then, so this is kind of a preview of what the app looks like. I'm gonna pull it up here. And just a heads up, this app does not work on the computer. So it does have to be used on a cell phone because the main purpose is to look at items when you're there rather than sit at home and learn about plants. The full purpose was to help you interact with what you're doing at the gardens. So there's 4 main pages. There's a plant identification page, a points of interest page, an amenities page, and a facts and questions page. So the plants page, the very first thing, so you kind of zoom in, and then you can see all of the different plants that are around. And you can click on one, maybe, and it'll pull up a little pop-up with a photo and then all of the related information for the plant, its life cycle, where it's native to, its sunlight requirement, all of those questions that people are usually asking. There's a little bit of information to help you identify the plant if you're not sure which one in that spot you're looking at. And then a little description of the plant. Oh, and they can also, up here at the top, type in a plant name if they're looking for something specific, like, oh, I heard there's a rose in here, and the app will take them right to where they need to go. Points of interest, there are several different special things, like statues and the pavilion and different things like that, that have a lot of information behind them that really add to the botanical garden experience. So I wanted to make sure that stuff was in here as well. So anything you click on, there is going to be a picture and then a little write-up about what is located there.
Thank you, Pam.
And then we have an amenities with all of your important information, like where the AED is and where the water fountain is and things like that. And then also your frequently asked questions with things that normally a volunteer or somebody would help answer, but when there's nobody there, we have this, and it can be updated with like, oh, we're getting a lot of phone calls on blah, blah, blah. And so we can just go in here and update it right away. We don't have to worry about it.
Wow.
Just caught something, the door handles in the restroom
Uh-huh.
are locked at 6 a.m. and unlocked at 10 p.m.
Oh, I copied and pasted
Oh,
this
did I
straight from the
miss
website.
It's in the restrooms. Yeah.
That should be switched. That's fine. I'll change that. You can see that's the beauty of this app too. I can go in there and change it in 3 seconds. So, yeah. That is my little app.
When you want to use it, lock it up.
If you want to, we'll do this after, but I do have a QR code, so you guys can go ahead and pull it up. There is also a QR code whenever we go out to the Botanical Gardens, so you can scan every time you go out. You don't have to worry about bookmarking the page or anything. It's going to be right there as soon as visitors walk in, so they will automatically have the information in their hand. Okay, do you guys have any questions?
Wow.
Yes. It's just there's not an app that you download, it's just a website that you use.
What's a website?
So I know there was a very large link over to identify all plants.
Yes.
So are they all identified now, and how many are there?
That is a great question. I haven't looked at the final number of plants, and I do not know the status of how many have been updated. But there's quite a few in there. Yes. Yeah, it's because of
Taking rings, my drone.
oh,
Amanda, this would work with an iPad as well, wouldn't it?
it should work with an iPad. Like I said, I specifically designed it to go on a phone screen because that's what most people have. It does require internet, so if the iPad is connected to internet, you could do that, but it's mostly just for extra information as you're walking around with your phone. To make it nice and easy, you don't have to worry about it. Yes.
To answer Susan's question, Pam Brack, Karen Rice, and I did most of the data collection, and we did our best to get all of the information in the system. One thing that we didn't always do are annuals, because they change so frequently. There are some in there, but we tried very hard to do all the perennials. So, to answer your question.
And the trees.
And Karen Rice and her team, and I'm not sure who all did the tree identification, but it is also in there. So the trees are identified as well. But Pam and Karen and I did the plants.
Any other
first.
questions for me? All right, perfect. We'll go on to the next one. Thank you.
Did you guys?
But there's internet.
Test, test. Everybody hear me? Yeah. You in the back? Okay, great. We're gonna talk about the Botanic Garden, and today, immediately after the meeting, we invite everybody to come over and walk around the garden. It's been in very good shape this year because of the weather not being the worst summer we've ever seen, and a little bit of rain, that's really helped, so it's been in good shape. We would love to have you come over, try out the app. We're in the try it and see phase, and would welcome your comments on the app. This is what you get to do when you're a docent. You get this fine little vest, and there'll be several of us stationed around the garden, and you walk around and you can ask questions. So, do I have a clicker? Right here. That's it. Yeah. And I assume right is the next slide. Yes? Okay. So I'm going to talk about the garden today, and I hope that most of you have been to the garden before, and if not, it'll be your first time, and welcome to the garden. The Grapevine Botanical Gardens is actually at Heritage Park. So it's a park within a park. So today what I'm going to do, I'll try to get through this quickly. I know everybody's eager to get up and stretch and get over to the park. I'm going to touch on the park history and on the garden development a little bit. Then I'm going to talk about what pocket gardens are and pocket gardens in the Botanic Garden. And then I'm going to highlight some of the plants that are in use in the garden that you can see today. So the history of the garden starts with the history of Grapevine. This is a two-touch thing, or it just takes a while. Anyway. Looking back, so here, and all of you in the Grapevine Garden Club, as you see on our logo, we were established in 1932. So in 1932, when the Garden Club was established, there were about 1,000 people in Grapevine.
Wow.
Now it's about 50,000. And Grapevine is the oldest town in Tarrant County, and it was incorporated in 1854. So Will Boyce was there in 1932. So all of you that know Will Boyce, it was there when the Garden Club was founded.
Wow.
City Park was the first park that was established for the city of Grapevine, and it was established in 1938. It was 2.8 acres, and it was down at where the playground is now, that's attached to Grapevine Botanical Gardens. So that was City Park, the original park. In 1939, the trustees of the park then created the plan for the park, and it included Boy Scouts and Garden Club. So south 150 feet of the park were to be used by the Boy Scouts, and they erected a scout cabin. And Grapevine Garden Club was to be in charge of the landscaping. And then there was a term of 1 year and it could be extended. So the early years of the park, then the Boy Scouts constructed this hut along with the Lions Club, which they were established about 1934, I believe. So very similar to our history. And the hut was the site of the first scout troop west of Mississippi, and it is still in existence today. I think it's troop number 7, I believe. And the Garden Club then maintained the landscaping in the park then until 1941.
Wow.
So fast forward, now we're going to leap up to 1995 when the city was able to purchase the Bessie Mitchell House and 2 acres that were close to the property. Then the city decided that they needed to do something with this and developed a plan with Oliver Wyndham, who's actually an architect in Arlington, and they developed the plan for the master plan for the Botanic Garden. In 2000 then, so this garden has really just been established since the year 2000. And the master plan called for building this garden in phases. The first phase included some walking paths, annual color beds, and this great lawn area. So the great lawn area was actually part of the first part of phase 1 of the park. And then in 2001 through 5, there were other phases that were incorporated, and it included building ponds and trails and a garden court, stage, more planting beds, and some of the pond work and brooks. The garden club, of course, has had our little fingers in the pie from time to time. In 2007, in partnership with CARD, we raised $50,000 for the education pavilion, which is part of the art display for the butterfly flutterby, and used for many events. And then in 2011 through 14, we raised about $150,000 for the greenhouse that's on the site. And the greenhouse is a working greenhouse, which means it's used by the city and it is not open for visitation. So don't go over there and expect to go through the greenhouse. We are able to use it for our annual plant sale though, and it's a terrific asset for us to be able to use for that amount of time. It was dedicated in 2017. All along the way, we've added to the amenities there, and the city has continued to add property. They reached a partnership with the Methodist Church on the parking lot, so that parking lot is a shared use between the Methodist Church and the Parks Department takes care of it. There was the butterfly flutterby, which is coming up. It used to be down Main Street, and that's not a real good place to release butterflies. Fly and hit the concrete and go, what do I do now? So it got moved to the Botanic Gardens in 2015. It's been there ever since and become, you know, from a few hundred people now to a few thousand people that come to this major event. In 2019, the Bessie Mitchell House got a redesign and a facelift and fancy, and we are privileged to be able to use that for many of our meetings. The total acreage is about 12 acres now. So there's other garden features. Freedom trees and Memorial Knoll that was done in 1996 in memory of Oklahoma City bombing and the 9/11 victims. So all of these significant assets will be on the points of interest in the app. The Blue Star Memorial, and I have put the Blue Star Memorial has been moved from out in the street, hallelujah, to the parking lot on the north and entrance to the garden. So if you step outside that gate and you walk up a couple of trees, look down on your right and it's there. So I'd like everybody to go admire it, and Chuck and Ella took part in refinishing it, so it's looking very nice again. We have Heritage Oak across the creek that was in 1987 was recognized as a bicentennial post oak, so very historic. And then memorial tree to honor our 90th. I think we're on our second or third tree now. It's struggled, but it is there, right? And it is also on the north end of the garden. So new this year, we have the Botanic Garden mobile app, and although it's called an app, it's because that is general term for application. It doesn't mean you have to download anything to your phone. So if you scan that QR code, it goes out to the web. It's just like going shopping. Very similar to going shopping. Pretend you're at the grocery store and you're ordering. So point and click, and it will come up and tell you what you need to know when you're there. So now I'm going to move to a few facts about the Botanic Garden. We're going to talk about what are Botanic Gardens. I get questioned as a docent, why isn't this garden filled with native plants? You're in Texas, you've got a garden, you should be doing that. Well, Botanic Garden, it's a broad term for facility which cultivates a wide variety of plants for scientific, educational, and ornamental use. So Botanic Gardens are to educate. So you'll come and you'll see, yes, you're going to see native plants, but you're also going to see other species that might be adapted to live there, species that are tropical. So it's used for education. Also, it's interesting that gardens are actually classified as a type of museum because they function as a living museum. And they curate botanical diversity for public and researchers. So we're going to invite you today to go over, use the app, and explore pocket gardens and plants. So what are pocket gardens? Well, that's just a term that can be used to mean hidden gardens, secret gardens, secluded spaces designed for privacy, solitude, and contemplation. It can be an area that invites you to explore. It can be a sheltering microclimate, which we talk about a bit in gardens. And it's got maybe a special focus or a special theme. And it may use an underutilized space. So how they're designed using different terrain, microclimates, subsets of plants, hardscape, paths leading to somewhere, fences, walls with doors, which is like the cover of our yearbook now. There's a gate that's what's behind that. Even it can be as small as a collection of pots. That can be your little microclimate and your secret garden. Probably many of you have that out on a patio in your backyard. And you can say, I've got a pocket garden. Go home and tell your friend and they'll be impressed. So, examples of this in the Botanic Garden, there's the change of terrain, and there is actually what we call a pocket garden or hidden garden. There's a pollinator garden. The underutilized space was the parking lot. It was underutilized. Now there's a dry xeriscape bed there. Hidden garden, the Julie's garden is there, which is very secluded and calms the soul when you go and sit in it. Or paths inviting you to explore bridges across the creek. So here's some pictures. We've got the xeriscape, Julie's garden, the koi pond. That's a microclimate. Living wall. That's another type of special garden because it's a structure that has plants on it. This one's used to hide the air conditioner. Isn't that clever? Paths that lead, beckon you to go explore. And so the types of plants that are used in these pocket gardens include shade, sun. There's a group of moisture tolerant that are going to be around the pond and stream, and xeriscape or dry, heat-loving plants. So examples of plants. So I thought, well, we're going to go look at pocket gardens. Let's look at a few plants that are used commonly in the garden. So examples of shade plants. There's the Farfugium looking very nice now. And I found that a nickname was tractor seat plant. I thought that is really good. I've never thought of it as a tractor seat plant. So there's suitable for Texas gardens, particularly in shady, boggy areas or high clay soil. So they do very well in our environment. They have a little showy bloom. It'll come up here in a little while. Has anybody got any that are blooming yet?
Oh.
They're showing the spike. Yeah, they're a little bit later. But there'll be a yellow flower on it.
Oh, yeah, it's the winter.
And needs to be protected from intense heat. So you'll notice when you're in the garden, it's in a very shady location and they've done very well. It's in the hidden garden area. Now you're gonna walk around and you're gonna see a lot of plants that look like mondo grass. And yes, there is mondo grass, and a little bit of liope, not much. But a lot of plants you see are gonna be caryxes. And that's, the form is a Japanese sedge. And there's 3 varieties that are being used there, hybrids, Evergold, Everillo, and Evertime. So you'll see them, it's show variegated, one's got some gold color, and one's got this vivid line, which that was probably my favorite plant. You'll go there and you're in the dark shade and all of a sudden you get this bright highlight or even some dappled sun come through, really nice. All prefer shade, partial shade, and they give, their function is they give some bright highlights to dark places, and they have texture, so they've got this little mop of hair coming out. And this is in the upper Pond Street area. Ferns, there are probably 6 or 7 or more types of ferns used in the garden. I picked a couple of them. Holly ferns, and these are Japanese holly ferns. I'm not going to butcher Latin today, so just read it. Drought resistance, they're low maintenance, they're deer resistant, so that's important to a lot of people. Deer and rabbit resistance, and they thrive in low level light. Wood ferns, which are native to North America, and there are different species of wood ferns. So if the species is exactly native to Texas, I don't know, but we've got wood ferns in the garden. Another couple of types, there's autumn fern, which is brilliance, and it has reddish fronds that then turn green, and there's several of those over there in the garden in the lower pond area. And Japanese painted fern, and this one does not have much of the typical coloration because it got a little too much sun, which washes out the color. We're going to talk about a couple of sun plants. The dry land xeriscape bed has rock rose in it. It blooms all summer. It's beautiful now. The bees are all over. I took that picture. The bee was right in the flower, and it is a Texas native. It attracts pollinators, and it's a perennial shrub. So that's, as you drive into the parking lot, you're going to see the bed, and it's got the pavone in it, rock rose. Artemisia is there. There's several different varieties. This particular one is in the garden, and I put down 3 more samples of plants that are in the Artemisia family, other species. So the one that is in the garden there in the dry land bed is the Palace Castle, and then I've listed some others there that are Silver Mound, Dusty Miller, and variegated. So a very versatile group of plants, and you'll see an example of the silver sage in the bed. This one's interesting. If you went to the garden this summer and you saw this bird of paradise blooming, it was beautiful. Unfortunately, at this particular time, it's kind of on the end of its cycle for this year, so you're not going to see it in full bloom. But I thought it was interesting because you look at it and you say, well, that's a pride of Barbados, which is this plant down here, which you typically see a lot of in the summer, and it's the bright orange red. Well, the one that we've got in the Botanic Garden is yellow. It's got yellow blooms. It's both of these plants are drought tolerant, but this one happens to be a deciduous tree, and it's good for zone 8 through 11, and it can tolerate up to 7A. So these might actually persist and be there again next year. So that'll be interesting to see. Whereas the other one, the Pride of Barbados is most commonly used in this area as an annual, and it's more shrubby. So you'll see it, and they'll be low to the ground and filled with blossoms. These actually have the tree stalk, so this is the tree form. And the other one is, needs a little bit warmer climate. So that's why it's an annual. So be interesting to see if this comes back. And then we use annuals. As Debbie said, we didn't always document annuals, but the pentas are looking good now, and there'll be butterflies on the pentas. They're drought tolerant, they're a pollinator. And did I not put some? Yeah, Angelonia. Angelonia is another one, and that's out in the garden court. And then a couple more as you walk into the entrance. You've got the cigar plant, which is a cupia, and it's attracting pollinators, and it's classified as a subshrub, but it's native to Mexico and West Indies, and that's why it's used as an annual here. Attracts hummingbirds. And then the showstopper, if you go around to the restroom area, and there's angel trumpet. There's a couple of them in pots, and they are just gorgeous. They're blooming now. There's a couple of them in the garden. There's a white one, I think that's off the deck of the Bessie Mitchell house. But they are in the nightshade family. They are considered woody trees or shrubs, and we have to use them here as annuals. But they come in coral, white, pink. But there's several of those in the garden. So those are samples of some of the plants. So today we're inviting you to come explore with us. And I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Any questions for that? You're welcome to stop and pick up lunch. There's benches there. There's a few tables on the deck. Yes, ma'am.
I'm assuming that there's a sign with a QR code at the garden.
There is, and there's one at the entrance. I've also seen one out in the garden someplace, I can't tell you where. The docents will have a QR code in their pocket, so if you walk through the gate and didn't bother to stop, see one of the docents, they'll have a card in the pocket where you can scan that. And just another little tidbit, if you bring it up and down at the bottom right corner, there'll be a circle that says that you can get your location put into this map. It might be, your phone might come back and say, do you really need this, or do you really want to let this app know where you are? And you might have to say yes, but that way, when you go in the garden and you've opened it up, people, they get in there and they say, well, I don't know where this plant is. I don't know where I am in relation to this. So that will put your location in the map. So if you have trouble, we'll be around. You can ask us, we may not know the answer, but we'll follow.